Hello and welcome to this episode of Painted in Color. I'm co-host Lauren Brown, joined by co-host Mia Araujo and Eric Wilkerson. Today we're going to have a mini-sode, talking about our aspirations and goals for the New Year's. So let's just jump right in and get started. Happy New Year, y'all.
Happy New Year.
Happy
Yeah.
2023.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've been away. But I think I definitely needed the time. It was a real good break.
Yeah.
What did y'all do? Did you have a break, Mia? Don't laugh like that. I can see you.
No, I'm laughing because I actually did have a break. I told Lauren, I was like, I might just have 1 or 2 days off, but like I literally had a deadline right before Christmas and I had to hit it. And my sister came over actually and spent like Christmas like with us. So it was like 4 days of having my sister over and we did absolutely nothing, like no work at all, no drawing, no writing, nothing.
It's the best, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Eric, what mistakes did you make over the break?
Honestly, I taught my son, my 3-year-old, how to use the PlayStation.
Oh, really?
Now, like physical objects, physical toys, Paw Patrol Tower, all his trucks, and he's like, no, let's play the robot game. I want to play the robot game. Daddy, can I play the robot game? Wakes up. He hadn't even gone to pee yet. Daddy, can I play the robot game? Like, you want to go to the bathroom first? No, let's play the robot game.
What is the robot game?
It's called Astro's Playroom, and
I think I've heard of that.
it hits his age level perfectly. You don't have to, you're not getting stabbed, you're not falling to your death, nothing like that. Nothing. It's just cute robot running around, punching little monsters and collecting coins. Done. And
Really cute.
usually just sits on my head, just climbs up on top of me and sits on my head, and like he's just, and he goes, yes, like he like hits the goals and all that stuff. And I was very proud of that. But then I realized, oh, there's a whole room of stuff he will not touch.
Yeah.
It's like a layer of dust on stuff. So
now he's learned the thrill of instant gratification in the digital world.
yeah. So
It's a big world to explore.
I have to tell him that the PlayStation needs a rest or that it's broken in order for him to touch his actual toys now. So that was my holiday. I didn't paint anything. I almost tried to once.
Oh,
But
I'm glad you didn't do it. Yeah. It's important to rest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
what about you, Lauren?
I went home to Jersey to spend time with family, which was really wonderful. I made a concerted effort to actually like become as much of a potato as possible and just like melded with the couch. Like there's like this Twitter post going around that's just like become like aspire to become a couch over like the break or whatever. And I feel like I did that. I feel like I did a really good job. I taught when I called my niece and nephews knee folk. So I taught one of my knee folk how to color theory because they like to draw. And so that was really a lot of fun to draw with them. And then what else did I do? I spent some quality time with my best friend. It was just a really good break. So I'm like ready to do things and to be productive now that I've had like 2 weeks of just potatoing. So important. I needed it because the last year was a lot. Last year was a little too much. So yeah, I feel like I'm starting on a fresh step at the very least. So I feel good. I feel really good. But I wanted to know too, I've been doing a lot of just like talking with my mom, with my friend about just reframing everything and like not really making resolutions, but just kind of going forward with a different perspective. So I wanted to know what kinds of things did you want to take into the new year or want to leave behind in just leave it back in 2022? It could be either or.
Well, I want to do more. I want to just tell you this quick story and then about like what I want to do. And then I'll probably have to I gotta go walk this dog.
That's fine.
But I want to do more personal work. I want to make the time to do more personal work. I know I've said it, and I admire the artists who have families and pets and other things going on, like busy careers that still have time to say, no, I'm going to paint this large painting for myself. I'm going to do whatever this digital thing is for myself. And I'm going to do it more than once. right? To create more of a body of work that just screams you, rather than this is what you did for a client,
Yeah.
where, you know, like 10% of your audience actually cares, but they don't see you in that work. They see your client in that work. You know what I mean? So last fall, I found out that the National Museum of African American History and Culture in Washington, D.C., is going to be having an Afrofuturism exhibition. It's going to be a year-long thing at the Smithsonian. And I found out about it through the news, like the local news here in Virginia. And I'm like, the hell? Like, how did I not hear about this? I was like freaking out. So I messaged Tim Fielder.
Yeah.
And I said, did you know about this? He says, know about it. I'm in it. I'm like, oh my God.
That's so
So
cool.
I'm like, dude. So he put me in contact with the curator, but by the time he put me in contact with the curator, I wrote this passionate, like, please, please, please email, like, like, here's my work. I threw together this whole PDF document and everything, like talk about my accolades and everything. But it was too late. Like, they had already chosen all the people that they were going to get in for this show. And they do that months in advance, right? But my takeaway from that, the response that I got back was, you know, thank you, but, you know, it's already been set up, but we were well aware of your work. We're like, we know your work.
Oh, wow.
And I'd say for about a good solid week, I was walking around with chest out. I said, you could have whatever Spectrum Award, whatever Hugo, blah, blah, blah. The Smithsonian Institute knows who I am.
That's so cool.
I said,
That's right.
oh my God.
That's
So I said, you know what? I need to paint more of what they already knew I was capable of. I need to paint more of the stuff that I'm passionate about. And whether it takes 2 months or 5 months, however long it takes to do those pieces, to set aside that time, and, you know, just for myself. And I think it's cathartic and much needed. So that's my story. That's where I'm at right now. And it makes me happy. It's just that I have a sketchbook full of stuff that I've been wanting to do, but, you know, who has the time?
Yeah.
So get this dog to poop on a regular schedule. And
Dang it,
I for context, I just we got a puppy for my daughter, or from both my kids, and it's like having a third child. And, you know, nobody ever said that it's going to be like having a third child. So yeah.
And one that never grows up.
I'm sorry.
But what are your plans?
Like, to piggyback off of your story, Eric, I don't know if you have time for another story before you have to
Sure, I do.
But I was when I was with my best friend over the break, I was at a diner, and she knows the person who owns it, and so they were talking, and their marketing team was sitting in the room with us. It was just us and the marketing team, like in the dining room, just eating delicious, really good food. And so I noticed that one of the kids was wearing like this anime One Piece hoodie and shoes. And I was like, oh my God, cool One Piece hoodie. And they were like, oh my God, you know about anime and One Piece? I'm like, yeah, like I've known about it probably before you were born, but that's fine. They were real young, but they all came over all excited. And my friend was telling them all about how I work at Wizards now, and they were all excited. And I was just like, oh, like, no, it's not that like big of a thing, or like whatever. And my friend had said, she was like, you know, when you do that, later down the fact, she said, when you do that, like, don't like kill the vibe, don't kill the mood. Like, they are excited to see you and to hear what you have to offer them, because you're somebody who has experience. You're somebody who is in a place of, you know, to be admired. And, you know, you like, as artists, I think we have a tendency to always like try to shy away from any success, or like try to, you know, not brag about stuff, or just be like, oh, like I did this, but there's so much more that I have to do. And she was like, just own what you have and own what you are, and use that to give it to people. Because if you're not being open about that kind of stuff, you're depriving people of what you could offer them. You're depriving people of your gift. And part of that gift is not only what I have to offer, you know, from my experiences, but also my personal work. And, you know, the fact that my personal work is something that I haven't gotten to do nearly enough of, like you, Eric. And I really want to do more of that, because every time I do personal work that is like very much like extremely me, people resonate with it, and they understand like where I'm coming from, and they understand, you know, just they just get excited about it. And I'm like, well, why am I not doing more of this? I keep thinking that it's not good enough, or my ideas aren't strong enough, or, you know, et cetera, whatever excuses are available to grab on at any moment. But that moment had really taught me, it's like, oh, just like own the things that you have and own the gifts that you have, because it's special, and they're worth being shared. And, you know, that conversation with those, you know, with the marketing team ended up with me, like, I'm going to be mentoring one of those people now, because it turns out that they're an artist and they want to get into conventions. And I was like, hey, we have a podcast. You know, we have a whole series about conventions, and I can also personally mentor you to get you started so that you can tailor your art and like brand yourself. And, you know, she seemed really excited about it. So I was like, oh, like if I didn't say anything, like I would, my instinct was to say, like, you know, I'll just be, you know, chill about it. She wouldn't have been able to get that opportunity, and I wouldn't have been able to get the opportunity to teach somebody. So I plan to go forward in 2023, actually owning, you know, my position in the industry or in the world or whatever, and also just letting myself be an artist and letting myself create freely, and, you know, not holding myself back from doing that. So yeah, that was my little story to share.
Awesome.
Like, you know, like I said before, I'm going to be focusing a lot on my personal work, and I plan to, you know, build out the avant-garde series that I have with the mushroom and rose queen and the ginkgo. And I already have 2 queens in the works right now. So I'm going to be having, I want to have a whole series, and I also want to start a tarot deck too, selling prints and the actual deck once it's done in probably 2 years, because they take forever.
Yeah, that's
So,
a lot of paintings.
yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. I also want to start doing originals too, like original paintings. You know, maybe like 1 or 2 this year, just to get my toes back into it. But it's been a long time, and I've missed the feeling of paintbrush on canvas. So, or at least on watercolor paper. So, you know, we'll see how far I get, but that's at very least, that's where I want to go. I want to at least make, I don't know, 5 new pieces. I'm not going to over, you know, index that, but I think 5 is doable.
So exciting. Oh my God. I can't wait.
And also to everybody who's listening, just come to Gen Con, even if you're like, you know, just it's just a great convention. If you're in a tabletop or fantasy, or any, you know, board games, stuff like that. It's a fantastic convention. Great as an attendee or as a selling artist. Yeah, but Mia, what do you either want to bring forward or leave behind?
Oh man, listen to y'all talk, like you both had like a moment, something that happened that made you think of the thing that you want to focus on this year. And I guess I do have a thing that happened, and that is that my sister actually finally got to finish reading my manuscript for my book, and I'm going to try to say this without crying. And basically she loved it, and she's the one who I wrote this book for. And I know people are going to be like, of course she did, she's your sister, but it's like, it's really hard to write something that's about an experience that you had with someone and you dedicate that to someone, but it's also like a fantasy version, and it's like got all these different things that are like layers that I had to sift through to write this, you know. And it was like my first story that I've written in 13 years. Like, it was just a lot of fear and insecurity that I had to face, like writing this. And it just, I think just like her reaction was pretty much everything I was hoping for with this project. And it made me realize, like, I've put so much pressure on myself to finish this. And it kind of feels like right now I achieved the thing I set out to do 10 years ago when I wrote this. And actually now, whatever happens, even if it's an absolute failure or it goes completely out of my hands and it isn't what I expected, I actually already have done the thing I set out to do. and nothing can take that away from me, you know? And so it was just an amazing feeling. And it also kind of taught me that I was like so scared throughout the entire process of writing that. And it just showed me that it's like, I heard this said so many times that like going towards fear, going towards the edge of your ability is where you make breakthroughs with your work. And it's like, it's not even finished, but it's the thing that I'm the most proud of making in my entire career. And it feels like all the years I took off from my career to make this, and all the things I've had to do in order to make this happen, that all felt like setbacks, was all, you know, is what made this possible. You know, it's like I actually probably would never have written a book if I had succeeded in illustration, if I had made a living as an artist. And that's the truth of it, you know? So I think it was kind of a moment that it made me realize all the hardships I've gone through that felt like I would never make it were the things that made this thing that means so much to me possible, you know? And even if that's all I ever achieved from this, like I said, it actually doesn't matter to me because that's exactly what I wanted to do with this. So anyway.
It's so special. Like, seriously, you're gonna make like me emotional too, because like I think that is what it means to be an artist and a creator, is to be able to reach that moment of setting out to do something. And it could be big, it could be small, it could be anything, but you set out to do it and you did it and you got a result that was achieved because it wasn't just a work that you did. It was a deeply personal work, and a work that is very, you know, true to your story and authentic to you and who you are as a person. And the fact that you wrote it for somebody and they read it and, you know, they reacted the way that you'd hoped, like that's, I mean, that's all, that's what you can hope to achieve as an artist. Like, that's like the best thing that you can achieve as an artist, like money notwithstanding, you know, position notwithstanding, like to be able to reach that level of, you know, of completion with a story like that is such a special moment that should never be understated. Like, that's a huge thing. Yeah. Like, I just want to impress that upon you, how big that is.
Yeah.
Like, that really, like, I'm really, really happy for you to have made it to that level. Like, that's so awesome.
Thanks. That means a lot. And it's, you know, I've had a lot of like thinking about my career, and it's just something that I don't think I've ever had financial security doing art. In fact, I know I haven't, you know, it's like I made more money as a server than I ever have in any year painting or drawing or whatever it is that I've done for the last 15 years. And I've had a lot of shame involved with that, you know, that it's like, I can't really make a living yet. But honestly, it's like, I also chose this. I chose to do very personal work. And that is the double-edged sword part of it, you know, is that it is going to be really hard financially. And the emotional side of it feels very fulfilling right now, no matter what happens on the financial side of it, I guess is what I'm trying to say. It is definitely something that I don't take lightly as well, in terms of like planning your future and about the kind of art you want to make, because the practical side of it is a legit concern, and it is something that weighs on you if it's not, if you can't make a living doing the kind of work you want to make. But I guess what I would say to people is that it is worth it. Like, this feeling is absolutely worth all that struggle and all that anxiety that the pursuit of it will inevitably ask of you, you know?
Yeah.
And I know that's easier to say to someone than it is to feel it when you're in that moment, because it's very hard, but it's also, it can be gratifying, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. I think a lot of us artists twist ourselves up trying to chase something that we see out in the world already. You know, like we admire certain people, or we like want to work at a certain studio or place. And so we tailor our work to match what we think people expect of us very often. And I think that when you really start to find yourself is when you stop chasing that expectation and you just do what you want to do because you feel it, you know, deep inside, like you, like in your soul. And I know that sounds very poetic and very like, you know, esoteric, but it's really true.
Yeah.
Like, because, you know, we talked about this before, I think, you know, voice versus brand versus style. And the voice really comes from the culmination of your experiences and how you perceive and filter the world. I was listening to there was a show on Netflix called Abstract, The Art of Design.
Oh yeah. That's a good
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, it's a really good one. And I was watching the Ruth Carter episode, the costume designer for Black Panther and Selma and all these amazing films. And, you know, she said that she had felt lost for a little bit and was, you know, because she's amazing, she was lamenting to Oprah about, you know, just her art. And, you know, Oprah, she said Oprah had likened it to prayer almost. It's like channeling. And, you know, I'm not a very religious person. I don't like the organized aspects of it, but like in terms of just like how you kind of like resonate with energy and just like, you know, how you perceive things and funnel it through your mind and your mindset. I feel like that is the true, you know, that's art making right there. Like that's, you know, there's a lot of people holding themselves back from it because we're chasing things that, you know, is it money or status or whatever it is. And we tend to lose ourselves because of that. But being able to achieve that feeling, like there's nothing that can replace that in the world.
Yeah.
And, you know, personally, I haven't felt that feeling for a very, very long time. And I really miss it. And I want to feel it again, which is why I want to focus on my personal art too, because like that emotional fulfillment is really like nothing else. And it's definitely worth it. And obviously, you know, again, we have to survive, we have to eat, we have to, you know, make money. But even if it takes, you know, 10 years, 15 years, just like that pursuit and kind of like, you know, chipping away at that personal project or whatever personal work you want to do, I still feel like it's definitely worth it.
I agree.
Yeah. So, you know, it's just I've been really all up in my feelings since the AI art discussion has been really prominent. Because I feel like a lot of people who just use AI art as the end all be all and they're not actually artists, they'll never get to experience that feeling. And my heart breaks for them because they probably could create in other ways that could give them that feeling. But because there's an instant gratification machine making pretty pictures for them, you're skipping completely the entire point of art.
Oh yeah. And I think there's a misconception too that it's like that the rest of us who do draw and paint, first of all, that we've been able to do this from the get-go. No baby learns like out of utero can paint or draw
Yeah.
like we can, you know what I mean? So it's not, we're not born with it, right? We're born with some kind of, you know, abilities maybe that make it easier for us to latch onto this or something like that. But I sincerely think any kind of differences that we might have that we're born with in terms of how our brains are wired or whatever it is, that is quickly evened out by who puts in the work and who puts in the time and who puts in the passion. Like I sincerely believe that. And yeah, there are some people that it seems to come easier to them, but every single teacher that you've ever talked to has said people who come in with talent or whatever it is, if they don't work as hard as someone without as much talent, they're actually not going to be as good or get as far. And so
Yeah.
I do think that, like you're saying, a lot of people are just so ashamed of, I can only draw stick figures and therefore I should just never try again. And we all have that shame, you know, we all have that, I did a bad drawing, but it's like, it's about working past that and continuing to work past that. Like we still have shame about the work we create today when it's not good enough. And
Yeah.
every day it's like you're willing to get past that pain to make the art that you want to make. But yeah, I mean, honestly, it's like I wish I could sing like Beyonce. I really do.
Yeah.
I love singing. I would sing in the car, sing in the shower, whatever, but I wouldn't like expect to have her skill without doing the work that she's done,
Yeah.
you know?
Absolutely. Yeah, like because like even with singers, like yeah, you can have like a naturally nice voice, but you still need vocal coaches. You still need to do breath exercises. You still need to understand what different notes are like and how to project each one. Like there's still learning and growing and you know shaping that comes with that. That comes with any form of creativity. So you know, I would hope that people explore what their form of creativity is because I believe inherently all of us have some kind of creativity, even if it's not obvious. It doesn't have to be visual art. It doesn't have to be music. It doesn't have to be, you know, whatever, but there's different ways that we express ourselves and self-expression is the important part. And I think that trying to bypass it is losing so much of an outlet for people that like they might feel it's an outlet, but they don't really feel it because they're not doing anything to create it. Like there's no real gratification there. So it's just, you know, it's cutting off that connection of like whatever, like however you're filtering things through your mind. You know, call it God, call it energy, call it whatever you want. But that feeling is inherently special and everybody can do it. And you just have to you have to want to work for it. I think that's really what makes artists like visual artists different. Like it's just the drive and ability to want to work for it is what it is. They're like maybe a little imagination, a little manual dexterity, but mainly our brains are wired enough to want it.
Yeah, and you don't have to enjoy the process because I know there's a lot of artists that don't, but you're still, I think the important part about the process is the finding. And that's the thing too, that misconception that it just comes to us immediately, that we don't have any like division between the idea and the finish. Like it's just automatic, and it's not like that. You know, we're still searching for it. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't come out fully formed, even if you can visualize. Like I'm terrible at visualizing. Like I don't have an image in my head of what the final is going to look like. But I think that if it was that instantaneous, I mean, maybe I'm just speaking for myself, but the fact that this took me 10 years to develop this whole story actually means a lot more to me than if it had just sprung out of my head, like Athena, you know, from Zeus's head.
That's true. Like that's a really good analogy. I love that. But yeah, like, you know, when you feel inspired and you're like, oh my God, like this is what I'm gonna make, you still have to, you know, like when I have an idea, I still have to thumbnail it. I still have to plan it out. I still have to make make sure the composition looks good or looks like anything. And I have to make sure the idea that I'm trying to convey is clear. There's a lot of steps still that needs to be taken from start to finish. So, you know, it's a worthwhile process. And every time that I've created in the way that is very authentic to me and have shot down old ideas that I, you know, they're good, but I didn't think they worked well enough or didn't speak enough about me. Every time I revised that and did something that I actually wanted to go with, those are the pieces that have really resonated with people. And like, you know, still at conventions, it might have been like years ago that I drew it and people still respond to it like, whoa, what is that? Like, tell me the story about this, because they know that there's something there.
Yeah.
Because it was something that was authentic. So, you know, when you're creating works authentically, that reaction is bound to happen. You know, so don't hold yourself back from doing that. I know this is a shorter episode, but before we go, Mia, I wanted to ask you, my best friend had basically had us go forward in this year with a phrase of affirmation for ourselves. And I know I'm putting you on the spot, but I wanted to know if you could just say one phrase that would define your year or help define your year, at least, that you want to go forward with, what would it be? And you have to start it with, my name is Mia and.
Oh gosh, I do it that way.
Yeah. Or you don't have to do it that way. It can be however you want.
Oh man, I think actually the first thing came to mind when you started saying that was Jake Parker's quote, "Finished, not perfect." He did a whole video on that, but that's how I have to think of things, because I think perfectionism gets in the way at times of me enjoying things, and finishing things is really important for me this year. Like I literally have to finish so much work in the next 9 months. It's insane. But so that's part of it. But I think also the part of it too is that the story I wrote is not perfect, but it didn't matter. It's still connected. And so it's taught me that it doesn't have to be perfect for people to enjoy it and for people to connect with it. And that's a longer way of saying the affirmation, but I just want to get away from perfect, like in any way that I can.
Yeah, I love that, because it's been a long time since I put this off for myself, this affirmation for the new year. The original one that I had was, my name is Lauren Brown and I'm an advocate for change, but like that's always happening. So like, but that's one of my affirmations. But my other one is, my name is Lauren Brown and I create for me. So I'm going to let myself make my art because I want to do it, and let other people appreciate it because it's what I want to do. So yeah.
That's awesome. That's really powerful. I love it.
Thanks. Yours is too. I'm excited to see. Oh, I'm so excited. I'm so excited for you, Mia. Like seriously, what you shared makes me so, so happy. But for everybody, no, I mean it from the bottom of my heart. Like that's such a special feeling. For everybody listening, I'm really, really curious as to what your New Year's affirmation is. If you want to phrase it like we did, you can go ahead and do it. But feel free to leave it in the chat. Feel free to leave it in the comments. I know this is a shorter episode, but we have a lot more in store for you this year. And I'm really excited to go on this journey with you. So thank you so much for joining us on this opening New Year's 2023. Let's go. Let's create. Let's create and go forth strong. If you like this episode and the content that we create, please feel free to like this video, leave a comment if you have the time, and smash that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. But really, any little bit helps, and we really would appreciate your support. But we really appreciate y'all for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Bye, y'all.